Good morning. The Finance Committee meeting is called to order at 10:37. Today is February 1st. All members are present, that being my colleagues, Alderwoman Finlayson to my right and Alderwoman O'Neill to my left. At this time, I will accept a motion to approve the agenda.
Madam Chair, I'll move approval of the agenda as written.
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, no business and miscellaneous. So at this time, I'll accept a motion to approve the meeting minutes of Wednesday, January 4th.
Move approval of the minutes from the January 4th, 2023 meeting.
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Okay, the next item on the agenda is the election of the chairperson pursuant to City Code Section 2.16.120 that says every year we elect a new chair of the committee. Hi. Discussion? Or a motion?
Can I nominate Ellie Tierney to continue as chair for another term?
I'll second that.
All in favor signify by saying, oh, thank you. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Thank you very much for that opportunity as we get into our next budget cycle. Yay. And I just
Okay.
want to say,
Thank you. That's what I really need.
I want to say I really enjoy working on this committee with you guys. You really rock. And I think we work really well together, so thank you very much. All right, so we have just fund transfers to review today, and beginning with fund transfer 2, the second of the year, Public Works. We have someone to speak to that today. If you'd like to come up and introduce yourself and speak of this Public Works transfer.
Good morning, Marcia Patrick, Assistant Director of Public Works.
Madam Chair, may I ask for the title? Are you the deputy still, Martha?
Assistant Director of Public
Assistant
Works.
Director, okay. Yeah, what did I say, Director? I'm sorry.
Okay. Yes, I mean, I had read, and it sounds like we have an existing contract for traffic engineering. The reason for that apparently is that I know that we made an effort to hire a full-time traffic engineer in the past, and we weren't successful, so we hired this consultant. And we want to continue that for the remainder of the fiscal year 2023. And to do that, we do have some unused idle salary money, if you will, to transfer over. So would you like to speak to the role of this consultant and how it's going? In light of all of these, we've had a lot of incidents lately, so I'm sure my colleagues would want to speak to that.
Well, this consultant, who is with the firm of Mead and Hunt, has been working for us for the last at least year and a half, possibly longer. And this amount of funding pays for that consultant 1 day a week. And the employee that's working on that now generally looks at the bigger traffic studies that are done, and occasionally individual complaints. Unfortunately, the engineer who was, or fortunately for her, the engineer who was working on the individual complaints retired effective yesterday. So we're trying to fill that position right now. We've had some interviews, so we're hoping to bring somebody on who, those are some big shoes to fill. She was wonderful. So that a lot of the smaller issues are dealt with by our office staff. And we're hoping to add a capital project this year to look at some of our major corridors and how to improve pedestrian safety, because there have been, recent incidents that are really unfortunate.
May I?
Yes, Alderwoman Finlayson.
Yes, thank you. Ms. Patrick, can you tell us exactly what kinds of projects? I think there's a misinterpretation as to what the traffic engineers do, and why we need consultants to supplement the work of our engineer.
The work volume is way too great to deal with all of them, and we're not trying to fill someone that only has a traffic engineering background right now. They, as you know, the individual who just retired was working on flood control as well as traffic and numerous other projects, and that will continue. So we still need someone who is a traffic expert who can really focus on specific issues. And so the engineer works very closely with the consultant on numerous items for, a lot of specific expertise.
Are we talking development projects?
Some of that is reviewed by Transportation and Planning and Zoning, but yes, absolutely, Public Works takes a look at those things too.
So whenever a traffic study is requested either by Planning and Zoning or us, do we hand that off to our engineer who then contracts with the independent company to do the traffic study?
So the Department of Planning and Zoning has their own contracts. It depends on the aspect that we would be looking at. For example, a small traffic study for a capital project such as a Barbud Lane improvement, Public Works hired that individual. But I think for a lot of the developments, that's actually paid for by the developer, but it's run through the Department of Planning and Zoning.
Thank you.
Okay, so to be clear, the person that left, I guess it's okay if we mention her name, Lisa Greco, she was a project manager, but she handled traffic stuff because we don't have a traffic engineer, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so this consultant is in lieu of a full-time traffic engineer. Is it appropriate, can I ask you, do you think is it working well? To have a consultant versus a full-time engineer?
Well, my personal view would be it would be much easier to have a full-time engineer. We did try for a few years to fill that position and
Right.
just did not get any qualified applicants who actually wanted the job. And we had some people we interviewed who we would have loved to have brought on, and for various personal reasons, they would have had to move or, their current position, they decided to stay. We were just unable to fill it, so.
So to Alderwoman Finlayson's point, if a project comes in, the developer, I understand, pays for a traffic study. So then that's all managed through planning and zoning. This consultant is not involved in that unless.
Correct.
Okay. Great.
Well, I'd like to add that we should give Ms. Greco
Yes.
big props because she may not have been
Yeah.
a traffic engineer, but she possessed all of the skill set necessary. I can't tell you how many times, I'm sorry, I'm without the mic. I can't tell you how many times I called on her and she did the traffic study. So whether it was her skill set or not, she was quite proficient. And congratulations to her on her retirement. She's going to be missed.
I agree very much.
Very much so, yeah. Yeah, I had heard that she might come back for consulting, but I don't know. Yeah, no, she went above and beyond, doing this traffic stuff, which she was good at. Do you have any questions, Alderwoman O'Neill?
I don't think so at this time. Thank you.
If not, I'll accept a motion for favorable recommendation for this transfer.
Madam Chair, I'll move a favorable recommendation for FT 223.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, the next one is a transfer for some vent cleaning that's required, and again, using some money from salaries and benefits. would you like to speak to that? FT 3-23.
Yes, I would. So we have in our buildings division 2 positions that have been unfilled since the beginning of the year. Facilities maintenance engineer 1 and 2. And we're hoping to fill those. We actually have a current employee who's getting some training. So we're working to fill those. However, unfortunately, they have been unfilled. So there's salary money available there. And we also have a traffic technician position that has remained unfilled. So we're looking to transfer that funding to pay for vent cleaning for City Hall, which would be the whole building, all the vents cleaned, mold control, it's a full service, and the Forest Drive Fire Station would get that same type of service. And we have quotes for City Hall and Forest Drive, and it's very expensive. So we'd like to be able to move forward with that as soon as possible.
Can I just ask, so, and this might involve Director Dickinson, when we do this then, those positions that are frozen basically, we make a decision that we haven't been able to hire, we're taking that money away and using it for this.
So the departments are identifying money that has not been utilized this year. I presume these calculations of the available budget would take into account if they are trying to hire somebody and will pay them for the remainder of the year, leaving them enough funding to pay for them as they fill them. And this is the excess that we've already realized based on this point of the year.
Okay.
And I'll ask Marcia to confirm that that's true, that if you're trying to fill something, there's enough left in there for that.
All of this funding is for July 1st through December
Vacancy
30th.
savings.
So it doesn't even include the money that would be for January, which is now completed. So this is only the first 6 months of the year funding for those positions. And it doesn't even include the benefits. That's salary money only.
So the position is still viable?
Oh, yes,
correct.
we're still actively trying to fill
Okay.
all of the.
Had to ask that, yeah. And then my only constructive question on the vent cleaning, such as, does it include like painting?
We will come back and paint after the vent, yes. And because I believe these are stained at this point. So once they're clean, we want to paint them and start fresh.
Thank you. Any questions?
Well, not a question, but thank you, because I have been the one bringing it to the attention, let's just say, that City Hall, the council chambers needs a cleaning. And I just want us to be clear, we're not freezing these positions. These are salary savings for the first half of the year. So even if we were to hire someone, they would not utilize an entire year's salary. We look at what's left in the year. So thank you. We should have seen this a couple months ago because we're still looking at whatever's above us, but thank you.
Thank you.
Right. And yeah, for those concerned, it is staining, even though it looks otherwise. Anyways, getting off topic here. Do you have any questions?
Nope.
No. Okay, so at this time, I'll accept a motion for a favorable recommendation of this fund transfer. FT 3-23.
Motion for favorable recommendation to the council of this FT 323.
I'll second it.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. All righty, thank you very much. So we have next, any general discussion items? We don't have any. And update from Director Dickinson.
Yes, so you have recently received the budget versus actual results for this year to date, the 6 months ending December 31st. That came to you through an email. So if you want to take a look at that statement and send us any questions you have. We have identified any issues in that report that we think would be challenging to the budget, and it's only a couple of minor department divisions that may be running ahead of their budget pattern for this year, meaning, that they look to be spending at a pace that would outpace their budget amount. So it's only a couple of minor things, and we're following up with the departments there. So take a look at that and let us know if you have any questions about what you see on the report. It compares where we're at December 31st to where we were at December 31st, the previous 2 fiscal years, so it gives you some comparison to the amount that we've spent on the budget to date. As far as the finance office is going, maybe some light at the end of the tunnel there. The personnel, we've had a lot of vacancies. We have filled 2 of those vacancies, and they're starting soon. Oh, actually, we filled 3 vacancies, and they're all starting within the next couple weeks. Some as early as tomorrow.
Wow.
And so we have to get those people trained. We still have a vacancy for a procurement officer and a billing clerk that we're working on, and I do have some more applicants for a procurement officer that I'm going to be reviewing and hopefully doing some interviews soon.
So which ones were filled exactly?
The cashier,
Always good.
yeah, we have 2. One was vacant, so we filled that with somebody from another department's moving over. And we got 2 new people coming into the accounts payable clerks. Right now, we have 1 person there doing the work of both, and Capri has been promoted to a budget analyst, and so that second AP slot is open, so we filled both of those.
I thought Katie.
Katie is budget manager.
Budget manager.
The council approved a budget analyst in the last budget go-around, and we promoted from within. However, at the time that we promoted her, she was the only person at the AP desk, so we couldn't release her completely until we train other people. And we have filled those spots, and those are going forward. Accounting manager is still open. We're going to try to fill that as a senior accountant. It's called underfilling because we just haven't had any success getting candidates from the outside. So we're going to try to work inside and find somebody to step up and take that, but as a senior accountant position. So that aside, within a week, on February 7th, we're planning the final payoff of the sub-debt. Remember, we issued bonds in December, set some money aside in trust, and Medco, our concessionaire, is going to use that trust money to pay off the sub-debt. That should be within a week.
And you can say publicly how much money that saved?
So if I can remember the numbers. Present value savings, 15 million. Actual dollar amount of savings, in the 30 millions range.
Yeah, congratulations.
And I do have that calculation, I just don't recall the specific amounts. And the budget, as you know, budget meetings are starting soon. We're starting to work with the departments as far as their budget requests. Katie and Capri have been working to gather that information, get it into OpenGov, so that we can analyze it and start putting together the mayor's proposed budget. The ACFR for FY22, we've been pushing forward on that. It's a big process. Now the numbers have stopped. The auditors are almost complete. We're working on the final document, which you know is a big book. It's a large financial report. So we're pulling those final numbers together. I'm doing my final review on the draft right now, and the auditors have started their final review of the draft as well.
Did we move up that deadline? Refresh my memory. Did we have a deadline for that?
So our goal has been to get it out by December 31st.
Yeah.
We've had to get extensions ever since I've been here, and I think long before I got here too. It's been a February, March issuance. And we were close the first year I came here. I think the FY19 audit was the earliest one to get out, at the end of January. So we're still struggling, and it's always been a staffing issue. Not having the accounting manager here at this time of year has pushed that back, because I have my assistant director trying to do it all and her other tasks as well. So that's caused a slowdown this year. The auditors are still doing a couple things, including their final review, but one thing we should see this year is the single audit of grant expenditures. Federal grant expenditures should go out almost at the same time, because they've been working on the testing of that during the fall and during their regular audit procedures, they've been doing all that testing. And won't come out at the exact same time as the financial report, but it'd be soon after. If you recall, the last couple of years, it's been out in September, more than a year past the end of the fiscal year. So that should be going out, I would say, at the end of February, early March, which is the earliest it's been in several years.
And how much time do they give you for any sort of corrective action or anything like that?
That would be based on the federal agencies that look at the federal grants that they tested. I don't know that there's been any exceptions this year. And I'll have to look at those findings and tell you, but so far, I don't anticipate having to make any ongoing corrective actions for anything. And besides that, that's it. That's my report, all the important things I could think of.
Alderwoman Finlayson.
Ms. Dickinson, your first portion of your report was about the report that you sent to us, the update on the spending. Are our departments on track for this point in time? I know sometimes some will hold off expenses until later in the year when they're sure they have adequate funds to do everything. Do we see any potential shortfalls in different departments?
So it's my recollection, I don't have the detailed report in front of me. A couple of the Rec and Parks divisions are pacing ahead of their, you would say, at the end of December, we wouldn't want to be quite 50% of your budget spent. So I'm looking for 45%, 46%. Stanton Center, I know, is ahead. And in the last couple of years, we've had to move some money over to Stanton Center at the end of the year in the fourth quarter transfer. We're trying to get them to monitor that a little more closely. I thought there was one other Rec and Parks division, I don't recall which one it is, that's a little close, so we're,
The camps and classes is at 57?
yeah, that may be it. They're a little variable because a lot of their activities aren't even throughout the year.
So
They have a lot of camps and classes in the summer.
Right.
That may be a July expense where they would have been pacing ahead, and that would be normal. You just have to compare it to the previous years and see how it compares to previous years.
It's like seasonal, sorry.
We
yeah.
funded a considerable number of camps and summer activities. And so I would expect that those expenses, and it would have been for summer of '22. So I would expect that those expenses would come in.
That may have already been
Exactly.
expended, exactly. So that may be on a normal pace for them. They do watch their budget at the end of the year, and they know when they're running low on their expenses. The thing that they don't always monitor is the salary side, because we, in finance, set that budget, and then they're not watching those as closely as they are the supplies and the contract services and the other things that they handle themselves and control themselves. So we have to watch the salaries and benefits very closely.
Well, and I've heard from constituents about the various salaries that were paid. And I guess my question is, and I think you just answered it, we do not monitor salaries that are not city employees, but through grants or through the summer programs. Do we, well, let me ask, how do we control or monitor salaries for teachers, salaries for programs?
That most of their teachers for their specialty programs are paid as contractors through contract services. So they should be monitoring that themselves. They're not employees. If they're employees, then the department is supposed to be monitoring that, and we get it established in HR, and as a part of the budget, make sure that we've set their budget adequate enough to handle what they need.
And I think what I'm hearing is people have been brought in to teach specific programs.
Right, yes, and they're hired as a vendor, not as an
Right.
employee. And most of those, in your example, are being paid as a vendor.
Okay.
And so the department is supposed to be watching those accounts very closely to make sure that they've got enough to get their programs done.
So as we go into, or prepare to go into the budget process, should we be seeing the data from those hires, those contract hires, as part of the budget process?
If they're in the line called contract services, your budget book will include a breakdown of what we've asked for contract services and what each element is valued at, meaning if they have like instructors, they'll have a number there. I don't know that we put a lot of detail in there, and we don't put pay rates in there or charge rates for them. At the time we set the budget, they may not know who they're going to hire specifically and what the rate's going to be, but they try to project that. So we do give you a breakdown of what's in there.
So we should be asking, I think, and tell me now, past practice for the 23 year, for example, so that we can see what we paid for those contract services in 23 and can kind of predict what we should be looking to pay in 24.
So that's what we do when we establish the budget. If that's something that you think you want to see, you'd have to ask us for that in particular. That's digging a bit down into the detail.
Yeah.
So that's the process that Katie and Capri and I and the city manager will go through when we're trying to establish the budget for 24.
Okay. Thank you.
So, so we, if I may, I'm looking at the report now, so to address Alderwoman Finlayson's concern, for example, under the, I know you don't have it in front of you, but we break out contractual services. So for like sewer, we have 21 and 22 down at like 5% and 12%, and then in 23 we have it up at 43%. So something like that would trigger you to ask, why did we have more consulting services so far?
And that, yes, we would look at what's going on in 23. The department would note in their budget request for next year that they need more money for something that's new, or they don't need to repeat that additional expense. It could be that it's the same services, they just got them done earlier in the year. I'd have to look at that in particular. That's all considered. The DPW gives us their budget ask for sewer, for water, for refuse, a watershed, all of their funds, and the general fund activities as well.
So to understand this a little bit more, it's in like from an estimating perspective, which is what I'm used to, it's like a trending report. You know, how are we trending this year? So you're looking at anything obviously over 50%. That would cause you to say, oops, we should be over 50% halfway through
We're
the
using
year.
that report mainly to monitor 23. So we can see if somebody's ahead and if there's going to be a need for additional budget, or for telling them they have to watch their expenses and not spend it.
Right. And the other one that I saw was sewer, and I thought, well, yeah, there's been a lot of sewer work going on, but
So I'd have to look at the particulars. If it's in contract services, it could be some of their projects that they've had to undertake.
this is the bottom line of sewer, the total.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd have to see what that's made up of.
But I mean, sometimes it's, like linear, but like Parks and Recs, it's seasonal,
Yeah.
it goes up and down.
Yes,
So,
true.
thank you. I'm going to ask, this question has come up because it's public. The Parks and Recs position will be filled. And so the question was asked do we have a new position in the police department? Or are we
So we're anticipating that the police department will have enough salary savings this year. The estimated amount, I don't know what the total amount that's going to be that'll cover moving the current director over and under a new role, but we anticipate they'll have plenty there in vacancy savings to pay for that.
Got it. Thank you. Any other questions? All righty. Thank you very much. That's all I have on the agenda. unless there's anything for the good of the order.
Thank you for the report, Ms. Dickinson or Ms. Conley. It's very informative.
That's all the hard work.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Thank you.
Madam Chair, you looking for a motion to adjourn?
I sure will.
Okay, I'll move that we adjourn.
I second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All righty.